Well, good morning, sisters and brothers. Welcome to our program of News and Views. You know, this is Friday morning, and every Friday morning we come together and we share the good news. So often we just read bad news, and Catholic news is good news. So we would share this, and we hope that you would share with us too as we come to the halfway mark in the program, that you would call in and let us know what you're thinking and what you're experiencing. I'm Lilias, Milne, and with me today is Sandra, Armstrong. So,
good morning, everyone.
Let's just sit back, relax, and enjoy the next hour. Well, we see some people are heaving and huffing on this front page of the Catholic News for sure. These very strong-looking ladies pulling in a tug-of-war. And I guess life is just one big tug-of-war too, so we have to stick at it and come out on top. And this is held at the laughter, strength and determination on ladies. And can there be any doubt about the Trinidad and Tobago women? These ladies at the Central Vicariate Sports and Family Day held last Sunday at Presentation College, Chaguanas grounds make up what seems to be an unbeatable team. So everybody looks like they were having a great time.
That's nice. It's good to do that.
And then, of course, we see something that happened last week, Saturday, was it?
Saturday morning, yeah.
The ordination of our newest priest, and was what Bishop Jason introduced as the baby priest. Don't mind, he's 78 years old.
77 or 78. 78.
And that is really, it was an occasion to celebrate God's call. You know, we never could say, I'm too old to do this.
Yeah.
When you look at that, God calls you in whatever state of life, and you know, and He uses you in whatever state of life you're in.
Yeah.
So Father Ken Vera, who was a 78-year-old grandfather and retired lawyer, and you know, he's followed one path in life, and from very early on he heard a call. He was not a Catholic.
Yeah.
He was converted to the faith when he was about 18, and he felt that call to priesthood, and he went into the Spiritan Fathers.
Went away
To study for the priesthood, and then partway through decided no, that it wasn't for him, and he left and got married and became a lawyer and had children and so forth. And now in his old age, with his wife has passed on, he heard the call again, and he went and finished off his studies at the seminary and was ordained last Saturday.
Very joyful occasion, apparently. Actually, I saw him here since his ordination. He can't stop smiling.
Still smiling.
He's still smiling. He's so lovely.
The Mass celebrated the mystery of love, faith, and a journey with many meanderings, said Father Bishop Jason. He heard the call to one vocation and decided to live two before coming to the first at this stage in his life. Yeah. That is a real roundabout story there.
It sure is.
The race, apparently, said Bishop Gordon, Archbishop Gordon, is not for the swiftest, but it is for those who persevere until the end. And our brother has persevered in hearing the vocation.
That's beautiful. I love, in reference to his being elderly, I love the Archbishop's prayer, the wine of your life that you would offer to God through the priesthood would be a finer and more beautiful and more tasty wine than anything you could have offered in the whole rest of your life. I love that. I think that's so beautiful, you know.
That configured to Christ, you would be assigned to His church of God's unfailing and abiding love. And through your ministry, many, many people will come to know Jesus Christ.
Isn't that beautiful? Very beautiful. That's real good news.
And of course, it was on the feast of the patron of priests, Father St. John Vianney. And Bishop Jason remarked that Father Vera was looking more and more like John Vianney as he grew in years. So, and he does too.
Yes, he does.
So we just thank God for this newest baby priest, according to Archbishop Jason.
I thought the editorial was very excellent this morning. the fact that we have had the appointment of a commissioner of police at last, and also a new minister of national security. Dream team. But everybody has a part to play. So the editorial talks about that, you know. Everybody has, but the editorial does commend Trinidad for being a matured society in being able to have some discussion, dialogue about this.
And they were involved
in the process. And I thought it was very, very good. Practically, this means that a society, via its economic, social, and political structures, must ensure that no one, especially the poor, is marginalized in the decision-making of a society. So I think, in its own way, this too was good news for us, because it showed a maturity in this in the society.
And we cannot think that, oh, well, now we have a new commissioner of police and a new minister of national security, so we're going to see a change. It took us a while to get where we are, and it's going to take us a while to get back to where we were before. And you know, I think that what it calls for is for all the citizens of this country to get behind the commissioner of police and not look on the commissioner of police like someone imposed on us or someone as a rival, you know, or an enemy.
Someone to be supported.
They have to be supported. The police can only be effective if its citizens support the police. And, you know, it's a two-way street. I
had some very good points here. The society as a whole has shared responsibility with these two new appointees to educate on the root causes of crime and its prevention. The institutions of school and family must be encouraged, equipped and facilitated in the response to crime via value education and education on the respect for the rule of law. It's true. It has to come right to the family to teach our children how to obey laws.
Yeah, when you see things appearing on the news of fights between school children that are unbelievable, like a riot in the schools, and this of course has to come from home into the schools and then on. If this is what goes on in our schools, then it's going to go on out in society.
That's right, when they leave school. Another really good suggestion: can our law school students be challenged as a part of their curriculum to teach the respect for the rule of law at every primary and secondary school for credits towards their law degree? And that's the relationship between respect for the rule of law, social awareness, and crime should be part of the school curriculum. Value education and civics should be also examined at SEA and secondary school levels. I think that was, you know, really important.
All institutions have a duty to cooperate with the Ministry of National Security and the entire police service to confront crime in all its forms and expressions. This would be another form of participation in society. And I think we have to look into our own selves too and see where we break the law.
That's right.
It's not only the people with guns that break the law. And I think when you look in the drive around the savannah on an afternoon, you see examples of that, as you see this collection of cars up by the Hilton roundabout stopped by police because they're speeding around the savannah. And we don't think about it, but speeding is breaking the law, and you're becoming a lawbreaker when you speed. And so it has to begin like that. You know, we break a red light, you're breaking the law. And
you break a red light with a car full of children, and you're teaching them to break the law.
And you're also endangering their lives.
Yes. You know, it's so important that we all look at our own selves and see how are we doing in terms of our law keeping and what's our attitude towards the laws in the country. You know, littering is simple, but it's all adds up. It all adds up to the, I don't know.
So I think what the new Commissioner of Police would have our support, but really and truly, we are all called to support the police at all levels. So praise the Lord.
Yeah, but that's good news that we have a new commissioner of police, I don't know, you get a sense of a new hope for the country.
Yeah, and I think our sympathy has to go out to the acting commissioner, Stephen Williams, who has been acting for 6 years now. You know, and that was so hard to ask anybody to have to endure that. You know, not to be confirmed in a post every 6 months, to have your position renewed. It's very, very painful. So we take that editorial to heart.
Yeah, very, very good editorial. Really recommend that everybody spend time and read it and digest it.
And then on page 3, there is a thing on the Pope's Catechism revision on the death penalty. And it's amazing how people have reacted to that. People who should know better, you know, referring to the Pope as being wrong and out of place, and that he cannot just change a catechism, and here in this article they give the background to it, you know. And why is it that people are so
adamant?
I hate to use the word bloodthirsty, but revenge-filled, that they insist that we have to have a death penalty to be able to put punishment and you know, and we don't look at it rationally, and we don't see. To me, and there are instances, we read about them constantly, where someone has been in jail for 15 years and they've now found that they were innocent of the crime.
Oh, yes.
So if they had been executed, there was no turning back from that.
That's right.
They would have been wrongly executed. And if one life is taken of an innocent person, that to me is reason enough to do away with the death penalty. But they look at it in this article, and I think it's very good.
It is. Well, one of the things that when you read is that the whole the conditions under which prisoners are kept have improved. Yeah. So they can,
the safety of the population is ensured because they can be secured.
That's right.
And this murderer is not going to be a danger to society. Right. And then there's always a chance for that person to be redeemed.
That's right.
Pope Francis's decision to revise the Church's teaching on the death penalty has been welcomed by the Catholic Commission for Social Justice in the Greater Caribbean for Life. And I think that's important here in our own land.
Yeah.
Because that is still on the books here, right?
Yeah.
This decision is clearly linked to the Catholic Church's belief that human life is sacred and that the dignity of the human person is the foundation of a moral vision for society, said a joint release from the two organizations. The revised text in the Catechism of the Catholic Church reads, "The death penalty. Recourse to the death penalty on the part of legitimate authority following a fair trial was long considered an appropriate response to the gravity of certain crimes and an acceptable, albeit extreme, means of safeguarding the common good. Today, however, there is an increasing awareness that the dignity of the person is not lost even after the commission of very serious crimes. In addition, a new understanding has emerged of the significance of penal sanctions imposed by the state. Lastly, more effective systems of detention have been developed, which ensure the due protection of citizens, but at the same time, do not definitively deprive the guilty of the possibility of redemption. Consequently, the Church teaches in the light of the Gospel that the death penalty is inadmissible because it is an attack on the inviolability and dignity of the person. And she works with determination for its abolition worldwide." So we have to work for the abolition of the death penalty right here in our own country. And there's very, very strong feelings against that.
Yeah.
Because people feel, if they reintroduce hanging, there will be a drop to murders.
But we've seen that. We've seen that it doesn't work. I mean, that's been very evident.
It doesn't work.
When we, remember when
nine of them
hung right here next door to us, and we.
Right after that.
Has that affected our, crime rate? Has that reduced it? It doesn't work. Violence brings violence. So.
Well, thou shalt not kill. It's as simple as that. It didn't say thou shalt not kill except if you were in a position of authority.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for us to take a look at our first clip. We have always interspersed our local Catholic news with international Catholic news because, of course, we are a universal church, and what happens in one part of the church happens all over. And we see Pope Francis speaking to altar servers, and there were thousands of altar servers gathered in Rome over this past week. And he says that the path to holiness is not for lazy people.
The 60,000 young people who met with the Pope passed a true test of endurance. They braved the heat beginning at 3 p.m., awaiting the Holy Father. Luckily, these hoses helped them stay cool. And music and dances kept them entertained. It's the 12th edition of the International Pilgrimage of Altar Servers to Rome, a tradition that began during John XXIII's papacy. The majority are German youth between 14 and 23 years old, but other countries are also represented, such as the US, Portugal, and Serbia.
Welcome to Pope Francis!
Pope Francis appeared in the Pope-mobile in the square shortly before 6 p.m., greeting the crowd and blessing them for 20 minutes. First, the Pope thanked them for their persistence while waiting under the Eternal City's intense sun. Then, he gave his address. They asked him how to be true daily peace builders. He responded with another question to reflect upon.
Per esempio a casa, dopo un litigio tra I fratelli, mi chiudo in me stesso, domando, mi chiudo in me stesso, facendo l'offeso, o provo a fare un passo verso l'altro? So fare la pace nei piccoli gesti. Sono pronto a domandarmi in ogni situazione che cosa farebbe Gesù al mio posto?
A young person from Antigua and Barbuda asked for advice on reaching other youth separated from Christ. Pope Francis said young people are the best ones to reach others their age, and he told them how to do it.
Non c'è bisogno di tante parole, sono più importanti I fatti, la vicinanza, il servizio, lo sguardo silenzioso davanti al Santissimo Sacramento.
Lastly, they asked him how to reach holiness. The Pope chose to make things very clear.
Sì, ci vuole fatica per fare sempre il bene e diventare santi. Tu sai, la strada della santità non è per I pigri, ci vuole fatica.
He also recommended they put works of mercy into practice and urged them to study these works if they didn't know them, saying they will allow them to help others with whatever they need and change the world.
It's simple, do the right thing. Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Yeah.
Never get tired of doing what is right. That's right. Lovely.
And then we move on to the article on this Pallium. Of course, the Pallium Mass will take place on Tuesday, to which the Catholic faithful, all Catholic faithful are invited. And this will be the conferring of the Pallium. It will be imposed on Archbishop Jason Gordon by the Apostolic Nuncio, His Excellency Archbishop Fortunatus. what is the pallium? The pallium is a white wool vestment adorned with 6 black crosses, dating back to at least the 5th century. The wearing of the pallium by the Pope and Metropolitan Archbishops, in which symbolizes authority as well as unity with the Holy See. And of course, it's really just like a yoke, eh?
Yeah.
And we always saw it on Archbishop Harris and all the Archbishop Panton and Gilbert. But you know, we don't really notice these things until they're drawn to our attention.
That's right.
And of course, the pallium is made from the fleece of young lamb. I think that is born on the feast of St. Agnes. Either is born or the wool is taken. The wool is taken from the lamb on the feast of St. Agnes, who is of course the lamb was a spotless white lamb, as St. Agnes was a spotless young maiden before her martyrdom. And this is then woven into the pallium and imposed on the Archbishop. And prior to this, the Archbishop used to go to Rome to be vested in the pallium by the Holy Father. But the Holy Father's desire is for it to be done in their own diocese
amongst their faithful.
Archdiocese, among their own flock. So it was blessed and given to the Archbishop on the feast of St. Peter and St. Paul in Rome in June, and then now it's being actually, he will be vested with it on Tuesday. Mass will begin at 5. So we look for a good turnout.
I just, for those of you who are accustomed to tuning in to Breakfast with the Deacons on a morning.
Very important.
It's very important to know that Breakfast with the Deacons will not be aired during the month of August. The program is expected to resume on Tuesday, September the 4th. I know there are a lot of people who look forward to that program in the 7 o'clock in the morning. We have to give Deacon
Derek a break.
Well, there's been a lot of other deacons been doing it as well. To give the whole, I suppose August is time for
holiday time.
Holiday time, yeah.
And then, of course, the Catholic Communications, the School for Caribbean Catholic Communications is well on its way, nearly winding down now. And it's very well attended. And what is very beautiful to see is that nearly all the other islands have sent participants, so that really makes it very, very Caribbean and very special.
Praise God.
I think this is an interesting little thing.
Very much.
The Public Utilities Ministry outreach. This is a novel thing that really we have not seen, I don't think. We've seen this before.
No.
Instituted by the Minister of Public Utilities, Robert Lehunt, and it's to bring the ministry's services closer to communities across the country.
Very, very.
So this year it will be in Sangre. It will start off by in Sangre Grande at the Camden Court in Henderson Street, Sangre Grande. There will be an exhibition and display of the ministry's services from 3 to 5 p.m. Residents will then get an opportunity to interact with the minister and key executives of the ministry from 5 to 7:30. So that's so interesting because you understand what the ministry is doing.
Yeah. It's an opportunity.
How it operates and so forth, and then to bring your questions and your suggestions, I think, to the minister. That's really, really getting it down to people level. Yeah. So I hope that it goes off well, and I think that they should really be well supported in that.
Right. Well, our Archbishop Harris has recently celebrated his golden jubilee of priesthood.
In Paraguay.
Isn't that beautiful? 50 years. And there's a beautiful article here sort of going back his whole priestly life, you know, and what he went from one thing to the next until he retired from being our Archbishop. It's very beautiful, and he received a handwritten letter from the Pope in Latin, so we'll read it.
Yeah.
And a beautiful letter from Cardinal Filoni, prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, on achieving 50 years of priestly ministry. That's beautiful. You know, we celebrate a lot when couples reach 50 years in marriage, and 50 years of priestly ministry is very special too.
And the Cardinal says, for the first years of your priesthood, you were not afraid to bear the odor of the sheep, as you ministered to God's people in Paraguay as a missionary for 13 years. Later, after further studies in the USA, you returned to Trinidad as rector and then provincial superior of the Spiritan Fathers. Up to the time of your ordination as coadjutor archbishop on September the 14th, 2011, you had been a pastor in several parishes, judicial vicar and vicar for clergy. You have also written several articles on catechesis, priestly and religious formation, and canon law. So he's reviewing the...
Yes, the whole journey is made, you know. Very beautiful.
So,
as you celebrate 50 years of priestly ordination, I extend to you my very best wishes of joy and peace. And may the Lord, through the maternal intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary, continue to bless you and keep you well. I assure you of the Holy Father's gratitude for your many years of dedicated service, as well as prayerful support of this missionary dicastery. Lovely.
And there's a picture here of the Archbishop singing.
Yes.
With a group, a musical group from Paraguay. And of course, he's very close to the...
Yes, he really has
a very special place in his
heart for them, that's for sure. That is for sure. Father Bishop Harvey on his first anniversary. Can you imagine, a year has already passed?
And he's reviewing his first year.
He revealed that he spent the year trying to understand the gaps, not just affecting church in Grenada, but the island as well. He believed that if he had not discovered these gaps, it would have been foolish of him to fix them had he not had a better understanding of why the stagnation happened.
Yeah, and he has a great job of rebuilding the church in Grenada.
Yeah.
He expressed gratitude to everyone who helped him gain a better understanding of things. From the senior people with whom I've had conversations, to the Prime Minister, to the lady who walks into my office, somewhat depressed, maybe even mentally ill. And she sits there and she tells me her story, and her story is the story of Grenada. All these things are realities here, and I'm very grateful for every encounter that I've had and for the challenges that I have faced. So we pray for Bishop Harvey that he will continue to make an impact on the lives of Grenadians and drawing many back to the church, because there's been a real separation in recent years. So
praise God, we have to pray for him.
Maybe we have time for our second clip. We see how Pope Francis is at his weekly audience, and we know that takes place every Wednesday. And he asked the question, how many of you use tarot cards to be told the future? Sometimes we use tarot cards, but other times in Trinidad we use obia women and obia men to tell us what's happening in our lives. And we could just, instead of saying tarot cards, say obia men and ask ourselves that question. So it's an important question.
Following his summer break, pilgrims were eager to meet with the Pope once again at the general audience, and vice versa. The Holy Father gave out greetings, especially to the little ones. He received gifts and drank the mate offered by these pilgrims. Pope Francis continued his catechesis series on the commandments, reflecting on the first from the book of Exodus, "You shall have no other gods before me." The Pope explained the temptation of idolatry, which he said affects both believers and non-believers.
Per esempio, noi cristiani possiamo chiederci: quale è veramente il mio Dio? È l'amore uno e trino, oppure è la mia immagine, il mio successo personale, magari all'interno della Chiesa?
The Pope said people today keep a real supermarket of idols, one of them a concrete temptation that he warned against.
Io vi domando, quanti di voi siete andate a che vi buttassero le carte per vedere il futuro? Quanti di voi, per esempio, siete andate per fare leggere le mani e vedere il futuro invece di pregare al Signore?
The Holy Father mentioned other similar idols, such as beauty, fame, or money, that promise happiness but actually take one's own life.
Gli idoli promettono vita, ma in realtà la tolgono. Il Dio vero non chiede la vita, ma la donna, la regala. Il Dio vero non offre una proiezione del nostro successo, ma insegna ad amare. Il Dio vero non chiede figli, ma dona suo figlio per noi.
Thus, Pope Francis urged each pilgrim to recognize his or her own idol in order to be freed from it.
Portate questo nel cuore. Gli idoli ci rubano l'amore. Gli idoli ci rendono ciechi all'amore. E per amare davvero bisogna essere liberi da ogni idolo. Qual è il mio idolo? Toglielo e buttalo dalla finestra.
To conclude, the Pope reminded that idols keep us from appreciating the present because they only create illusions of the future, while God teaches to live daily.
What are the idols in your life? You know, if we look good, we will find that we have some little house idols.
We think we don't, but if we examine and we're honest with ourselves.
And it's simple, what comes before God?
That's it.
You know, when we're making a decision and we know that's God's will, but we do it because we think that it's going to be better for our job or better for our family, or it will help us get a house or whatever, rather than do it the God's way. That's an idol, you know. They're always so hard, strong after money and gaining material goods that we don't have time to pray, that we don't have time to do the good thing. You know, those are idols.
I love what he said, though, that idols take away our love.
Take away our love. They don't.
Very, very profound.
Yeah.
They take away our love.
Because God is love, and anything that distracts us from God is taken away from God. Love.
From love, sure.
Well, Brazil church leaders speak against decriminalization of abortion. And we saw on the news last night, I think it was, that the church in Argentina celebrating that Argentina voted against abortion.
It was a close vote.
But it won.
But it won, and that's the main thing. But not Brazil.
Representatives of the Brazilian Bishops' Conference argued in front of the country's Supreme Court against the decriminalization of abortion in the defense of life from its conception until its natural death. That is what the Catholic Church teaches. He said it's not for the court to decide. This is the Archbishop of Rio Grande. It's not for the court to decide. How will the Supreme Court explain a capital punishment sentence of an innocent, defenseless human being to justify our incapacity in producing adequate public policies when it comes to women's reproductive rights? The bishop asked the court, which was preparing whether to decide decriminalizing abortion. He said a fetus cannot be addressed as another human body part, he said. It looks like we're talking about a gallbladder, a kidney, or an appendix that we need to extirpate, which is causing women to die. The focus is wrong. You know, so true. They talk about women have the rights over their own body, but it's not their own body. It's not an appendix that you take out.
No.
It's another human being. And, you know, it's the rights over another human being's life. Can't we see that?
That's right. The right to life is the most fundamental of rights, and therefore more than any other must be protected. It is a right intrinsic to the human condition and not a concession of the state. The powers of the Republic have an obligation to guarantee and defend it. But people, blindness is blindness.
Well, and what causes that blindness is the money that is given. When you see Planned Parenthood give millions of dollars to a government to institute abortion facilities,
legal abortion. Yeah.
The money, the idol of money, blinds them to the fact that they're doing wrong. And they will give you all these scientific things that refer to the fetus and the this, and they don't refer to it as a baby. And they give you all different reasons why they have to get rid of that child. Because they have been seduced by money. And we got a call for the morning. Thank you for calling. Good morning.
You're welcome, Lilias, my sister in the Lord. How are you doing?
Praise the Lord. Well.
This is Winston Garcia.
How are you, Mr. Winston Garcia?
Very, very good. Very good. Wonderful indeed. I called to give a little plug, for you to give a little plug for the Toko Matlat RC Parish community.
Tell us about it.
They're having their harvest. We're having our harvest this weekend at the Toko Secondary School. Of course, you know, it's a rural community and they need as much support as they can get. The buildings need as much maintenance, a lot of maintenance when they're by the seaside. And they have transportation issues and a whole lot of issues. So the harvest is it's like the lifeblood of the parish in terms of being able to pay bills and so on. So Holy Mass will be at 10 o'clock.
People of Praise will be there in grand style.
People of Praise will be singing for the Mass.
Right.
Music ministry. We will be running some stalls. There'll be all kinds of wonderful stalls up there. Lovely food. Creole food, barbecue, fish, chicken, the works, you name it. And
no wild meat?
Beg your pardon?
No wild meat?
No wild meat. The season is closed and it will be illegal.
And you're good law-abiding citizens, praise God.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The chief celebrant will be His Grace Archbishop Jason Gordon.
Oh, wow.
And Father Raymond Francis, of course, is the new parish priest up there.
Yes.
People of Praise is assisting. We were the administrators before Father Raymond.
Yes.
And this is our last official duty up there. We making sure the harvest comes off and so on. So we like to invite as many people as possible from parishes and from prayer groups and from communities to come and support the harvest.
Lovely.
We start a rosary at 9:30. And Mass will be at 10, and thereafter games and stalls, lunches,
Fun.
beverages.
And that is up at Mission?
No, it's the Toko
Secondary school.
Secondary school.
Secondary
All right.
school.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the features of the harvest this year will be the Joey Lewis Orchestra.
Woo!
They will be playing. They will be playing. So it will be a treat for people. In those rural communities, and we ask people to please join us. Bring the family up and enjoy a day and contribute and keep the church alive in the Northeast Coast, where there are a lot of challenges, especially when the rain starts to fall and so on. So this is our plea. Thank you for the opportunity to share this good news.
Thank you for calling, Winston. We hope that many more people will take a cue from you and call in and tell us what's happening in their parishes.
Amen. And we would like to also say if there are people who would like to sponsor anything, please feel free to call 685-0321 because there's still a lot of needs leading up to that harvest on Sunday.
Winston, will People of Praise will still have an interest in the parish? You'll still be involved there?
Well, to a lesser extent, because you now have a parish priest, and he's also assigned 2 seminarians.
Oh, okay.
So the pastoral burden will fall on their shoulders, and you don't want anybody to smother their
Yes.
their entry into ministry.
Right.
So they have to, stand on their own and face the music kind of thing. I think that's what the Archbishop wants.
Well, we thank you for the work that you have done and your community has done up there for the last few years. I think we've lost Winston now.
I think so.
Okay, what else do we have?
I love the little pearls of teaching or preaching that the Pope gives. Doing God's will means believing in Jesus and allowing love for him to translate into love for one's neighbor, Pope Francis said before reciting the Angelus prayer on August the 5th. The gospel story of the multiplication of loaves demonstrates the concern Jesus showed for people's daily physical needs. The Pope said, but the passages that follow show how it is even more important to cultivate our relationship with him, reinforcing our faith in him who is the bread of life, come to satisfy our hunger for truth, our hunger for justice, our hunger for love. So his little teachings. Further, the Pope said Jesus wants to satisfy not only their bodies, but also their souls, giving them the spiritual food that can satisfy their deeper hungers.
Yes.
Faith is a relationship, not a set of rules,
Yeah, faith is a relationship
with
God.
It's a relationship, that's it, I remember somebody saying that to me once about, many people today talk about the universe.
Yeah, there's a new God.
The universe, They don't
know that God created the universe.
Yes, the universe this and the universe that. And I said to somebody once, but you can't have a relationship with the universe, but you can have a relationship with God. He's like me, and it's just a grace, really, to be able to believe and to be able to journey into that.
It's almost like it's not cool to talk about God, but it's cool to talk about the
universe. Yeah, yes. I notice that a lot. The universe. Give me God any day. This person with whom I can have a relationship, a loving relationship, with whom I can talk, with whom I can empty my heart.
Who loves me.
Who loves me just the way I am, and who's there for me at every turn.
That's the important part, who loves me.
Yes.
And every now and then we have somebody who is outstanding in that love. And this is a Catholic physician in the Sudan, an American who serves in this war-torn corner of the world. He says, I'm a lay missionary. We're supposed to show the face of Christ to people. But how can we do that if we take off when the going gets rough? And the reason for that was that they were told they could leave because
it was too dangerous.
And everybody left, except him. And he said in the fighting between the rebel Nuba forces and the central government in Khartoum, when it grew particularly fierce, the area around the church-run hospital began to experience intense bombing. And the bishop then said that all foreign church workers, including himself, Katina, to leave. Katina was among a handful who said no. As an American working in the area, he has received much attention, something he finds disconcerting because he said staff from throughout Africa and Sudan are working to deliver care just as diligently. If I can be the one to get the message out, to show another face of church and the good it's doing in the world, then let me give it a shot.
It's brave, huh?
So, this is someone who lay his life down for people in another continent, not his own. Not to say that he's doing it for his fellow countrymen, but it's for his fellow men.
Yeah. It brings me back to this morning's gospel at Mass about, today's the feast of St. Lawrence, deacon and martyr, and Father shared so beautifully about martyrdom. As ordinary lay people, we think martyrdom is something way out there, but in truth and in fact, dying to ourselves is a small martyrdom. We don't have to be...
It's a martyrdom we're all called to.
We're all called to. We don't have to be burnt on a grill like St. Lawrence was. But every day we are given opportunities to die to ourselves so that somebody else may get life or some other situation may get life. And that's it. What he did here, he just died to his own fear, to be able to, so that other people can get life.
And he says to himself, if I die doing good, well, that's all right.
That's it. Beautiful.
And it's really coming with open hands before God and saying, you know, here I am, send me.
Yep. What do you have here?
Maybe we should have our third clip. And we see Israel limiting the equality of Jews.
Israel has passed a law that gives exclusive rights to Jewish people and removes Arabic as an official language. There are 1.8 million Arabs in Israel, which account for 20% of the total population. Israel's new law has led to further fears of discrimination towards Arab minorities, with many Israeli neighborhoods and towns already effectively being segregated, making it tough for an Arab to move in. According to Cardinal Edwin O'Brien, this new law has taken away full equality for non-Jews.
That law has reversed the 1948 Declaration of Independence of the Jewish people and the Jewish state, which stated full equality, regardless of race or religion or sex, to everyone who lives in the Holy Land. That has been abrogated.
Jewish and centralist leaders in Israel and around the world have decried this new law, calling it racist and even apartheid. The European Union has also criticized it, saying it will complicate a two-state solution to the Israel-Palestinian conflict. The Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem has the responsibility of protecting Christian people in places in the Holy Land. Cardinal Edwin O'Brien says that more work needs to be open if people, especially the young and their families, are to survive there.
Right now it's virtually impossible for non-Jews to purchase property on the West Bank. It's impossible for young people to survive and to grow and bring up families.
As the situation continues, this new law is seen as a threat to Israeli democracy, which according to Rabbi Rick Jacobs will damage the delicate balance between the Jewish majority and Arab minority.
So sad when nations introduce laws that segregate people and divide people one from another. So we should pray for that.
And we long to see our coming together, and some sort of peace in that, but it just seems like at every step there, it's more division and more animosity.
Maybe, Sandra, you could read the official before we go any further. It's quite a long official this week, so...
Dear sisters and brothers, on August the 4th, the Church celebrated the universal patron of all priests, St. John Vianney. The diocesan fathers will celebrate the feast tomorrow, Monday, at St. Catherine's Estate, Valencia, with a day of reflection. Let us continue to pray for our priests and for vocations to the priesthood. Today, which would be Sunday, all persons are invited to the devotions in honor of Our Lady of Fatima at the Lavental National Shrine. Devotions begin around 2 p.m. and will include the celebration of Holy Mass. Deborah de Rosia will deliver the talk, while the worship ministry will be led by the Corpus Christi Success Village community. I invite all members of the church, clergy, religious, laity, to the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception on Tuesday for a special Mass during which the pallium I received from Pope Francis will be imposed by His Excellency Archbishop Fortunatus. This will be historic, as it is the first time this will be done locally. Archbishop Gilbert and Harris had the pallium conferred on them in Rome at the hands of the Holy Father. On Wednesday, I will leave for Barbados to fulfill diocesan administrative responsibilities. In my absence, Father Martin Sergiu will be responsible for the Archdiocese. Charles Jason Gordon, Archbishop, Port of Spain.
Amen. Praise God. I think we could take a look at a couple of things in the 10 minutes that we have left. And one is on the back page. As we know, that is a very important page in the Catholic News. That is the page where the Archbishop teaches. And every week is a different subject. But it all is catechesis. And if we really read that reflectively and carefully, we will find ourselves really being catechized in the faith and learning what is important. And so he talks in this week about the opportunities for faith formation. And the question is, why does the church have so many schools during July and August? And he sets out at length the reason why and how important it is for the ongoing
formation, sure.
So one of the things he pointed out, the first school that was started was the liturgy school. And that has been going on now for 40, how many years?
41.
41 years. And which is a real milestone in itself, that something like that can survive and not just survive, but thrive. Over the years. This was first introduced by Father Michel de Verte, Father Ildefonse, and Brother Pascal Jordan. And it was a response to the rapid changes that had happened in liturgy and church life since the close of Vatican II. Like, many changes took place and people were confused and didn't know why. So the liturgy school attempted to explain and to help people really enter into the changes and participate, and not look at it as something imposed or negative, but as something in the life of the church.
Right.
And it has created that great life. When it began, it ran for 2 weeks at the Mount and attracted over 200 participants. Workshop included Lectio Divina, church art, music in the liturgy, preaching, liturgical dance, vestment design, ways of enculturation, and many others. And over the years, this school has formed many people who lead at a parish and diocesan level. It has contributed to the formation of the laity and its participation in church leadership in Trinidad and Tobago at different levels. And then now, 25 years ago, the communication school started. And that was begun at the invitation of Archbishop Anthony Panton. And an integral part of the plan was a school for communications. In this school, participants learn the theology, spirituality, and the skills of pastoral communication. Out of the school, many people involved in parish and school have seen the real challenge and opportunity of communications for us in the church today. The participants are introduced to the thinking of the church on communications. Last year, the bishops of the AAC region wrote a pastoral letter on communications, new ways of being church in a digital milieu. In this document, the bishops outlined the challenge and opportunity of communication technology for the world and the church today. And so he says we need to find new ways of being church if we are going to pass the faith on to the next generation. And of course, at the school, the whole thing is being church in a digital milieu. Yeah. And we have another call, so good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
Morning.
I am speaking from Gasparilla.
Welcome.
I am a shut-in.
All right.
93 years old.
Wow.
I always enjoy your programs.
Praise God.
It's really wonderful. And
I hope you pray a lot for us and for everyone.
yes, I do, because I have this on all the time. So I have nothing else to do but to lie down and pray.
Praise God.
That is an important function. So that's good.
And
Thank you.
I always enjoy all the programs.
Praise the Lord.
But the only thing
Yes.
that I am a little disappointed in
Yes.
is that we don't have local news on this station. Whenever I want to get on local news, I always have to turn it off. So that is the only thing that I'm disappointed in.
You mean local news in general or local church news?
I'm talking about local news in general.
Uh-huh.
So you have to switch to...
Well, you have to go to channel 3 or 5 or 6.
Yes, you have to go to some other
Yes.
channel.
Yeah.
I would prefer to get everything on this channel.
Yeah, but they have too much news of murder and crime and thing, and so we prefer not to get into all of that. That's bad news. That's bad news. God bless you and thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
continue to pray for us. All right. So yes, so the Archbishop shares how important that the School for Communications is in developing the pastoral plan for that the AEC have put out, you know.
Yeah.
And this year, of course, as I said, there are many people from the different islands who have come to the school. So they can take that good news back. There was also an article in here on the restoration work being done
lovely.
in St. Joseph Church, which I think is so very important. Maybe you could share
Very
that.
beautiful. Be custodians of the nation's treasures. Archbishop Jason Gordon has said that for citizens to truly understand what it is to be custodians of church requires a whole change of consciousness. This means that they would never allow these national treasures, and in this case he's referring to the St. Joseph's RC Church, to be in a state of disrepair that requires restoration. The Archbishop made the remarks on Emancipation Day at the official launch of Road to Restoration, a crowdfunding initiative to restore the St. Joseph RC Church. The occasion incorporated a GoFundMe component and a ribbon cutting ceremony that marked the commissioning of Priest Hill Greens as an inclusive recreational setting for family and community events. The two activities will generate income for the parish. But so he went on to say that the Archbishop observed that many persons do not understand the value of history, art, architecture, heritage, and the essentials required in being a nation. Restoring this church is part of the requirements of nationhood and responsible citizenry. Because this was the first capital, and because this church was the first prototype, and because this village was so important, to keep this shrine alive and in good condition is vital for our collective memory as Trinidadians and Tobagonians.
And you know, I stand to be corrected, but I seem to remember that the St. Joseph Church is also the first church and the surviving church in the West Indies.
Really?
I may be wrong, but I think that is the case.
He goes on to say, on restoration of the 200-year-old church, the Archbishop said that the building style of architecture, age, and prototype speaks to the human in a particular way. But there's something about a building that does something to the soul, that allows the soul to be raised to God. And there are some buildings that do it so much better than other buildings. And that, I think, that is what we are speaking about today. Beautiful, huh?
And restoration architect Rudlin Defoe Roberts said is that as she delved into a stone by stone and brick by brick analysis of the deterioration, she engaged attendees to think on how they can redefine treasure in terms of rehabilitation and question how they can repurpose crumbling tradition to living walls for modern congregations. And you know, it's an old church. And restoration is important, but maintenance is too. And I think we have to really search our hearts and see, you know, many churches have deteriorated and have reached a point where massive restoration is needed because they haven't been maintained.
Yes, well, I think what the Archbishop is saying too is that for some people it is difficult to understand the importance. It just really doesn't strike a chord in their heart. And
you know, when you go away to Italy and France and so forth and see these ancient churches, you go to Assisi, for instance, and see the Portiuncula and see these are hundreds and hundreds of years old, and yet they're in pristine condition. Why? Because you see somebody wiping down the pews, somebody maintaining the church year-round. And with that, I think we have to say goodbye. We have come to the end of our hour with you. It creeps up on us very, very fast. We wish you a beautiful, faith-filled, blessed weekend, and we look forward to being with you again next Friday.
God bless.
God bless you all.